I was actually supposed to be on a CODEL, a trip. I serve on the Defense Subcommittee of Appropriations now, fund all great armed services. I was supposed to be in Argentina, Peru, and Paraguay with defense, but because of the budget concerns, they canceled that trip a couple of weeks ago. So we were trying to put together the schedule. So thank you so much for Rotary allowing me to do this. Before I launch into my formal remarks, sincere thanks. This must be my year to get awards. One of the reasons I like to get awards is because, not just because you get the award, but people see what you're getting and what you're doing. And one of the most coveted awards I received this year was from Rotary International. They gave me their International Polio Award. That means so much to me, but sincere thanks to each and every one of you all and all the Rotarians for trying to eradicate polio. So, round of applause for you all. Imagine a job where you wake up in the morning, this time of year, probably about 4:45, get a cup of coffee, jog about a half mile to a place where you're picked up by a retired 3-star Marine officer, general, and taken to baseball practice. You practice for about an hour, hour and a half, and then you come back, shower, shave, and walk to work. When you walk to work, you walk right past the United States Supreme Court, you walk past the Library of Congress, you face the beautiful United States Capitol with our great flag flying over it, and I walk to my office and officially start my day at around 8, maybe 8:15, again after practice. My day, people ask me, what exactly do you do? Well, we meet with constituents. Sometimes our great bankers come up to see us. Sometimes our FFA people come to see us. Our constituencies come to see us from all across the state and sometimes from all across the nation. What else do I do? Well, obviously during the course of the day, sometimes twice, rarely 3 times a day, but definitely once, we vote. And I was one of 4 Republicans in the House last year that had a perfect voting record. So only 13 members of 435 did miss a vote. I was one of them. And I'm very, very mindful of the fact I've cast probably over 8,600 votes since I've been in Congress, one of the highest percentage. Why? Because when I vote, over 800,000 wonderful East Tennesseans, about half the people right here in Campbell County, have a say in that vote. Now that might be on a budget, it might be naming a bridge, but the reality is I believe that your voice needs to be heard, and that's why I make sure I vote a lot. Well, I've been in Congress a while. I'm in my 8th term. I'm very fortunate for that. What I do in my day job is I'm an appropriator, and I did appreciate the announcement about appropriations. What is the Appropriations Committee, and what does it do? Well, whether you're a Republican like me, or a Democrat, or an independent, if you serve on the Appropriations Committee, you're in the minority, by definition. Why? Because everybody else who is not on the Appropriations Committee is what we call an authorizer. Ways and Means Committee, Energy and Commerce Committee, Science Committee, Transportation Committee, all great committees, but there are authorizers. What they do is they make and pass the laws. They come up with things and say, well, this is the way I think a law should be. Enter the appropriators, and I'm the only appropriator of 9 in the House. I'm now what we call, and you'll have to excuse me, I'm trying not to use DC dialect, but every once in a while I'll throw some in, but I will define. I'm what we call cardinal. Now what a cardinal is basically a subcommittee chairman, and there's only 12 of them in Congress on appropriations. So if you're a cardinal, you're an appropriator, and that is a coveted role. I chair the Energy and Water Subcommittee of Appropriations. I've enjoyed that immensely. I'm in my 2nd year doing that. So I've always been on the Energy and Water Subcommittee, but now I chair it. What does that mean in practical terms? I write the energy and water bill for the house. In 2024, we passed it. In 2025, we did not. We just had a continuing resolution keeping the government open for the rest of the year. I'll talk about that budgetary process. But in terms of relevancy, if there is a budget, if there is a vote on the budget or deciding where to put the money, the authorizers build the house. The appropriators decide whether or not we're going to fund it. So if an authorizer had a big design for a house, and we came in and we said, we love that house, but we don't want to put any money on that screen porch, we want to maybe put a little bit more money in the master bedroom, that's what we do. So that gives us that extra bit of authority, and it's very important. What do I do? Energy and water. I fund the Department of Energy, all of it. So that means the NNSA. It surprises a lot of folks, even people I serve with don't realize that I fund the nation's nuclear arsenal. The NNSA, the National Nuclear Security Administration, is part of the Department of Energy, not the Department of Defense. Now, we said earlier, I am on defense appropriations now. That was one of the hardest things to get on in Congress, because that is the coveted role of the 12. Defense is the largest subcommittee. It's over half the money. It's very important. But the reality is they are the customer to what we do at NNSA. And at Oak Ridge, we have the Y-12 plant, we have the uranium processing facility. We do the secondaries on nuclear weapons, or the primaries are done down in a place called Texas. So I work with that. I fund all the national labs. I basically do everything that the Department of Energy does. The next thing I do is I fund the entire Army Corps of Engineers. Okay, you can say the Army Corps of Engineers. These are great men and women who show up, and of course when I'm dealing with them, I'm dealing with the top general and all of his generals under that, because they come and they see me and they talk about funding and the like. But I had to learn something, because when I went to Congress, I said, okay, Army Corps of Engineers, where are they? They're under energy and water. They're not under the Department of Defense. We fund them there. But so I'm expecting a bunch of Army engineers to show up. Well, these folks are showing up with Ranger pins and all kinds of beautiful combat badges and stuff like that. I said, General, what's going on here? I said, I thought y'all built bridges and things like that. And yes, many of these folks who are in the Army Corps of Engineers are very, very well-seasoned combat veterans as well. They're incredible, incredible people. So those are the two big things. The third thing we do, and if we were out west, people would go, oh wow, it's a big deal. I also fund the Bureau of Reclamation, that is largely a Western endeavor and deals with a lot of flooding and things like that. But I love that job. I've got defense appropriations, and then I also have labor, education, health and human services appropriations that funds the National Institute of Health. All of the cancer funding, I do that with the Cancer Caucus, the CDC, fighting infectious diseases, Department of Labor, and the like. That is the second largest pot of money to defense. So if you were to look at my portfolio as an appropriator, a new appropriator, there's 12 subcommittees, might have maybe one of the three good ones. I've got three of the three good ones. Literally, if you were to ask anybody in Congress, I have the best hand of any appropriator really in the United States House. So I'm very fortunate for that. That just didn't happen. It happened because I've worked very hard with my conference, with people there, with administrations. I've worked now with the Obama, Trump, Biden, and now Trump administrations and their officials. I try to work, I always keep an open door policy. Why? If you are a cabinet official, I think I owe it as a member, yes, I'm a Republican member, to keep an open door policy to show proper respect and decorum to everyone. Let me tell you how that worked out. Of course, a real quick story, and I want to leave some time for questions. Our great national cemetery in Chattanooga was the first national cemetery. It was General Grant's headquarters in the war between the states. And it's filling up. My dad is buried there, World War II, Army guy, China Burma India Theater. Showed up with one eye and he said, I want to serve. They said, you're a 4F. He said, I want to serve. I said, fine. We're going to put you in the Army. We're going to send you to Burma. So he's buried there. His brother, a great United States Marine, came back in a body cast from the South Pacific. He's buried there. It is a beautiful, beautiful place. It's filling up. It's about full. And I had a deal worked out with the Veterans Administration. And it was to buy a piece of land in the great state of Tennessee so that we could expand that cemetery. We go to the day of closing. The VA doesn't show up. The purchaser didn't show up. The seller calls me. Where are they? I don't know. Let's call them. No answer. Told them to show up in a month. They didn't show up again. Purchaser said, well, we don't know what's going on. The seller was like, hey, I'm about done with this. So he's very upset and the like. I said, look, don't go to the media and the like. Let me call the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. Now remember, Lamar Alexander told me a long time ago when he asked me to become an appropriator, why should I become an appropriator? And he said, how many times do administration officials return your phone call? I said, never. I was telling the truth. Republican never, right? So if you become an appropriator, they will call you back that day. Truer words have never been spoken. So I called Secretary McDonough. I looked him up. Fine veteran, good guy from Minnesota. I called the secretary up. 2 days later, he showed up in my office. He came in and we went closed door. He brought with him a gentleman who had been over the top general in the Montana National Guard. He was over the national cemeteries. He said, I have no idea what's going on. I don't. Please don't slam us. Give us some time to find this out. I said, Mr. Secretary, you've got my word. I will work with you, but we've got to get to the truth. I believe my folks in Tennessee are right. I believe the VA is wrong. I said, I don't know, sir. I don't know. A year to the day later, he showed up back in my office with that same general, and he said, Mr. Chairman, I've got to tell you something. You were right. We were wrong. We dropped the ball on this. We're going to go through that purchase. We're going to actually pay more money to the poor seller who was inconvenienced by this for over a year, okay? And you're going to get your cemetery in East Tennessee expanded. That was done. And the reason that was done was because I keep that open door policy. So through Republican and Democratic administrations, I keep an open door policy. I don't always agree or disagree with the person before me, but the fact that I fund them, I try to keep that line of communication open, and I've been very effective in doing that throughout. A little bit about Campbell County. I love your county very much. I've had the privilege now, I'm in my 15th year for all but two, the first two, of representing Campbell County. At one point in time, I had 80% of the county, all but Jellicoe up that way. Now I've got 50%. I share it with my good friend Tim Burchett, and that is fine. But I'm privileged to be your member of Congress. Great county. Tremendous potential. A great history, great coal history. And by the way, I've talked to the Secretary of Energy. Coal is coming back. There's a lot we can do with coal. So I worked hard to get Tennessee's primacy. Can you imagine that? 2 states in the nation gave their coal primacy back to Washington, D.C. Washington State, they didn't care. And Tennessee. I had to fight for years to get that back to the great state of Tennessee. So Tennessee now has its coal primacy. What that means is someday, hopefully we'll be mining coal again here. And I just met today with some folks who were telling me that there were 2 good veins, I remember that, of coal with some great silicon right here in Campbell County. A little bit about my job in closing before I take questions. I still love my job. I had a gentleman come in the other day. Actually a gentleman from the Kennedy family. Now this was not Robert. Okay, this was one of Robert's cousins on the Democratic side. He came in to see me and he said, "Gosh," he said, "you really like your job." I said, "No, I love my job." And he said, but it's crazy up here. People are angry and fighting and squabbling about everything. I said, yeah, but we've got a government. We've got to get the job done. And I said, if I'm going to be here working every day, I said, look, you don't know me. You're from Massachusetts. No offense to you all, but I represent wonderful people in East Tennessee. And I said, they keep electing me and re-electing me and working with me. But I said, it's like this. Back when I made an honest living as a trial lawyer, I represented good clients. And now I represent over 800,000 wonderful clients. I can't help but not love my job and do a good job. And really, I feel that way every day. And it's amazing now that I'm more senior. Just about every week, we do something not good, but great for people in our state or in our country. And it's like, wow, we got that done. We were able to get that done. So my seniority, my ability to work with people and stand firm on our conservative principle grounds, which I think the vast majority of East Tennesseans uphold. I mean, here we are in a beautiful church with a great, wonderful Rotary Club, great civic clubs. Thank you for being here. So glad to see so many younger people here as well now. Thank you so much for being here. Why? Because we need to rebuild these clubs. And Chattanooga has 3 Rotary clubs. They're all great. They've got a big one downtown. But the bottom line I want to leave you with is this. Tough times out there. I know the president very well. I don't know the vice president all that well. He and I met last week. Vance and I sat down, had a really nice talk. He's a very nice man. But I know Trump very well. Spent a lot of time with him the first time and this time. I know a lot of the cabinet members. Think about it. Kristi Noem and Sean Duffy came to Congress the same year I did. The Secretary of Energy and I are on dial-up. Not every day, but probably at least twice a week. Chris, what's going on? Chuck, what's going on? I called him up. And by the way, I love my staff. Tammy does a great job. Austin does a great job. We've got the best team in DC, I think, of anybody. But I called the Secretary of Energy. And he said, well, it's so nice to talk to you and this and that. And I said, well, Mr. Secretary says, no, it's Chris. And I said, okay, it's Chuck. I said, Chris, when are you planning to come to Oak Ridge? You got to come to East Tennessee first. He says, well, let me check on that. Staff says probably May, maybe June, if we're lucky, end of April. I said, how about February? He came in February. So my point is we've built a great relationship. So I can call cabinet members if I have to. I've got Donald Trump's cell phone number. Okay, I do. Do I call him every week? Of course not. He doesn't want to hear from me every week. Okay? And you never know what kind of mood he's going to be in. So hopefully a good one. Hopefully a huge one, a big one. But if not, I don't want to bear that. I've seen some of my friends run into that. But he and I get along well. He will work with us. Our state, I'll close by saying this. Our state is in probably the best position of just about any state in the union. Low taxes, low regulations, great values. Think about it. I serve with people, even fellow Republicans, who tell me their states will never get financially straight. They will never dig out of their debt. They can't get there no matter what they do. That's a shame. Tennessee is debt-free, low regulations, no state income tax. Not now, not ever. That's prohibited by constitutional amendment. I mean, we're doing things right here. And what does that mean? That means businesses want to keep coming and coming and coming to Tennessee. And I can't tell you who, but some of the people who just got big jobs in the Department of Energy, they're looking all over. They say, gosh, we live in these high tax states and it's awful, and now we're not making much money because we've gone into the administration. I said, come take a look at Tennessee. They're looking at Tennessee. They want to move here. Once they visit it, they want to come here. So you all are doing a lot of things right. I hope I'm doing enough right for you. And I'm going to keep doing that every day I have this job, because I do. I cherish the job that you gave me, and so appreciate being here. And again, you're the folks that make me look great every day, whether I'm sitting in front of a king, a prince, a prime minister, or a president. Thank you for what you let me do. So appreciate that so much. I'd love to open up for some questions. and I know you'll watch me on my time. I don't want to overstay, but I want to answer any questions you have. Yes, ma'am. Tell us who you are.
I'm Karen Kummerge.
Karen, hi.
I'm with Postmark Will Follow, and it's a nonprofit youth group. I'm interested in how you think the government's going to handle the arts appropriations, whether those funds are going to be cut. I know the NEH has had a lot going on lately.
Certainly, excellent question. I have been a long supporter of the humanities, all the arts, personally, so that you know. I would have been a Renaissance man or a Renaissance person, but for the fact, I confess, I'm musically illiterate, okay? I can do everything else. I just wrote my first novel. It's been published. Got 2 more coming. Cindy, I'm going to make you do that. I'm going to make you read that. That'll be your homework. And I do like you, Tammy. Shame on me. I got Cindy on my mind. I'm in Campbell County. Love her too. Having said that, what do I think is going to happen? It takes an agreement to get an appropriations process done. Those funds that are out there, everything is going to be looked at very, very closely. Whether it's spending for defense, whether it's spending for health and human services, everything's going to be looked at. I do think that the arts are cherished by a lot of people on both sides of the aisle. Ultimately, I do think there will be funding for that. There may be some constraints as to what those funds can be used for, but I think it's so important. Coming to a room like this, you've got Van Gogh and Monet on the wall. I think that's so important. And when you get men and women who have talents like that, I think we need to develop that, including musicians, which I want to Great question. Yes, sir.
Logan Hageman, how concerned should we be with the tariffs?
It's an excellent question. Let's talk about what a tariff is and where that role is. A tariff is basically a tax when you think about it, okay? And tariffs are under the purview in Congress of those people on the Ways and Means Committee. Again, authorizers, right? But the president has the ability to put tariffs and the like. When foreign countries send their goods to the United States, or when they import from the United States, tariffs work both ways. They can put tariffs on American goods, and we can put tariffs on their goods. Right now, there's a battle going on with tariffs. President Trump is a strong fan of tariffs and tariff policies. We've had presidents in our history share his philosophy. We've had other presidents of both parties not share his philosophy. What he's trying to do with tariffs is try to get more beneficial deals for the United States vis-a-vis its trade partners, whether it's Mexico, whether it's China, whether it's Canada, and the like. What I think will happen is it's a process right now. In some instances, he's been able to negotiate deals right away. In other instances, our goods are going to probably be more expensive, certain goods are. So there are concerns out there in the automobile industry and the like. And we're going to find things out that we need to fix in the process. Let me give you one example, and I didn't know this. Oats, like for your oatmeal, or in my case, a krill pie that I get from Little Debbie. 97% of the oats come in from Canada. I didn't know that. Why? Oats are a cold weather crop. See, that's good. Our FFA guy would have known that. So I didn't know that. That's what happens when you play with energy all day, okay? But the reality is that tariff will cost oats to really skyrocket. So what we're probably going to do is ultimately exempt some of those things. So the process is out there, it will play itself out, we'll refine it, and hopefully we're going to get to a place where our European trade partners and the like get to a more equitable place. Do I think we will? Yes. When will that happen? Will it be sooner than later? I don't know. For example, Canada had put a retaliatory tariff, it was Ottawa, on some American energy that they sent us. They pulled that back already and hopefully trying to get things done. So a process, it's got to be looked at country by country, and I think product by product, because candidly, we can't produce enough oats in the United States to fill that market. Great question. Yes, sir.
I want to make a comment as much as a question, but I'm Mark Kane. I'm CEO of the hospital.
Thank you.
To that point, I've lived in Tennessee most of my career on purpose, for all the reasons that you mentioned. Most of my kids live here now. We enjoy Tennessee for all the reasons you talked about. What I want to tell you is rural health care in Tennessee is frail. And I understand that the conversation around Medicaid cuts, et cetera, are largely negotiating points right now. And I get that. So I'm not losing sleep over it yet. What I will ask you is protect us, because we're going to need it. Desperately, we'll need that.
Thank you for your comment. Let me kind of address that. I'm deeply concerned about rural health care, but I'm going to tell something else. I'm also deeply concerned about our larger hospitals and our safety net hospitals, because they tell me, they come in and they see me, and they have larger populations, and let's face it, they have populations where they're serving a lot of indigent care. And I had a big hospital come to me, well, it was a writer, and they said, look, we're owed about $9 million that we are due, and the government says we're due. And then you go up to Bradley County, they have a large hospital up in Cleveland, they've got one and the like. So what I'm having to do, sir, is actually scrap to get those dollars in from the federal government. So there's a little bit of lethargy there, or sluggishness and slowness to get that in. Having said that, you're absolutely right. In rural Tennessee, I think there's only 3 private small rural hospitals left in the state. There may be 4. One's in Sweetwater, in my district, and I was working on a deal today to try to get them some funds just to stay alive. But as you know, in rural Tennessee, and we've seen this in Polk County, we've seen this in Campbell County, we saw it in Scott County. God forbid, if you lose that local hospital, it employs a lot of people. It allows people to have health access close by, because what happens if you lose your local hospital and you've got to do like we've had sometimes in other counties, you've got to drive, and EMS has to take people further. All of these costs mount out. What I don't know, sir, and what I ask you to help us with, and if we're candid about that, I can tell you the best nuclear reactors in the country, and the best way to fuel them, and the best way to dispose of the fuel, and the like. I can tell you the best, sadly, nuclear weapons and why they work and how they work. There's not many people, sir, in Congress that can tell us how to fix healthcare. Okay? We see the wage index situation, which I've tried for years to get better. It's gotten better in Southeast Tennessee. It's not gotten better in this part of the world. You know that. So think about it. A system that it's a disadvantage if you're more efficient and your rate goes down. And that's the federal formula. So the worse job you do, and spending money, it shoots through the roof. If you're more cost efficient, you get punished for it. So we've got to try to deal with that. It was a patchwork of a job when it was put together well over a decade ago, and it's just not working. Doctors are coming to me. It's called the doc fix, excuse the DC dialect, but they're coming to me and they're saying, look, our reimbursements keep getting cut and cut and cut, and our expenses keep going up and up and up. And that's why I got so mad at the AMA. In December, we had a deal set up. It was a 2.8 cut. It was a 2.5% patch. Well, there was that 0.3 problem, right? So they screamed about it. And of course, remember, I'm an appropriator. I have nothing to do with the final decision, but I would have voted for that patch. Well, guess what? They screamed so much, the authorizer said, fine, you're not that happy, we'll take away the patch. They got nothing. And the budget deal that we just passed, they suffered a 2.8% cut. So we've got to be reasonable, we've got to be flexible as possible, but I'm concerned for rural health care. Absolutely. And,
Just to note, those doctors that didn't get the 2.8%, they're now all coming to me saying, I gotta have a 4% raise because they just cut me. So that's the part of the conversation.
and you're right. And that's why what you all need to do is you need to get onto the Hill, okay, and get legislators, whether they're new ones or existing ones, and try to come up. And this is the problem. I had a lot of arguments with President Obama, several, not as many as I did with Joe Biden, but with Obama. And the biggest problem I had with him was, I said, when you did the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, which was a disaster, you had an opportunity to work with Republicans and Democrats, just like Republicans and Democrats worked on civil rights together. And guess what? It worked. Okay, Lyndon Johnson went down to see the Senate Majority Leader, who was Howard Baker's father-in-law, and he said, we're going to work on civil rights together with Republicans and Democrats so it sticks. It's an American issue. Healthcare, they said no, and they didn't get a single Republican vote. The Republicans were kept out of it. We need to have Republicans and Democrats sitting at the table, coming up with a solution on healthcare. I don't know what that's going to look like. You've got a better idea about what will work and won't work, but we're failing miserably. And we're not only failing rural healthcare, I'm just going to tell you, we're failing healthcare in general. The big hospitals in big cities are bleeding money.
Chuck, question for you. My understanding, there's a bill on the House right now on the table that the state is going to force the counties to charge the city's EMS. You know anything about that at all?
I think that might be a state bill, sir, as opposed to federal. So I don't. You might want to ask the state rep, Rep. Powers or somebody like that, but that would not be federal. Thank you. Questions?
One more.
Yes, sir. Logan?
I said one more.
Oh. Logan has come to see me year after year after year. I appreciate you so much. And brings the bankers, and the bankers come to see me. When groups come to me, and if you can think of one more question, one thing I like to do, and if you post up something, because right now people are angry on both sides. Dems are angry, Republicans are angry, people are fighting each other. And I said, look, sit down, take a breath, we understand where everybody is. Let's try to talk through this. But ranting and raving and screaming at each other is not going to get the job done. It's going to drive people away to a place. It does me. I had a bunch of Hamas protesters basically jump me about a year or so ago. And I'm usually, when I was young, I was hot-headed, okay? 38 years of marriage, 3 kids, kind of wore me down, so I'm very mellow now. But every once in a while, yeah, you just kind of wear out a little bit. But be that as it may, they jumped me in the hall and they were saying terrible things about our Jewish friends and about Israel, and I let them have it. I just unloaded on them something fierce. And of course it goes viral and national news, and got a fan club out of it, okay, but also got a not so good fan club out of it, which is not my goal. But the reality is, get together and talk through these issues. It is contentious right now, but it means a lot. I meet with more constituents than just about any member in Congress. If you come up there, I'll meet with you. I'll meet with your group. I'll talk with you. Sometimes I'll even go out and have dinner with you. The bankers pick those nice restaurants. I don't know about the rest of them. But it's because tell Reynolds I said, hey, he's always there. But be that as it may, still love my job, and it means so much to me that you let me come out here today and talk with you all. I know what I'm doing. I'll close by saying this. I've got a good friend who's an orthopedic surgeon in Chattanooga, and sometimes he does 20 surgeries a day. He shows up and, what did you do? I just put somebody's leg together. It's like, wow, and he eats dinner with me. It's like, how can you do that? That's big. Well, when I go to work every day, I know exactly what I'm going to do, okay? If I'm in committee, if I'm chairing a committee, if I'm meeting with the president, if I'm meeting with the senator, if I'm meeting with lobbyists, whatever, I know right now what I need to do and how to do it. And that brings so much to the table because it makes me so much more effective. The only thing would be like being a rookie ball player and being a seasoned ball player, right? So thank you for letting me represent you. Thank you for letting me be here today. Please, if you're in Washington, come by and see us. The door is always open. Thank you.